Part 1. The rain hadn't stopped for 6 hours. It came down in cold sheets over the winding A470, the highway that carved through the black valleys of Snowdonia like a scar. At 1:47 a.m., the mountains were invisible behind a curtain of fog and water, and the only sound in the world was the rhythmic thud of windshield wipers fighting a losing battle. Owen Griffiths gripped the steering wheel of his mud-splattered Land Rover Defender, eyes narrowed behind rain-specked glasses. He'd been driving since late afternoon, returning home from a drilling site near the coast. 14 hours of work, a thermos long gone cold, and a back that ached like an old door hinge. He knew this road by heart, or he thought he did. But on nights like this, even the familiar felt alien. His headlights caught nothing but grey. Then, a flicker. A pair of hazard lights blinking through the mist ahead. He slowed instinctively, scanning the road. The silver Ford Focus was parked half on the shoulder, half in the mud, driver's side tilted awkwardly. Steam curled from the hood like a dying breath. And beside it, a figure. A woman stood in the rain, hair plastered to her cheeks, wearing a bright yellow raincoat that glowed under his headlights. She raised one arm, hesitant, like someone unsure if help would come. Owen sighed. Every instinct told him to keep going. He was exhausted, half numb, and this stretch of A470 wasn't exactly known for good outcomes. But the ex-paratrooper in him, the man who'd once pulled strangers from burning cars in Helmand Province, couldn't just drive past. He pulled onto the shoulder, left the engine running, and rolled down his window. "Car trouble," he called over the roar of rain. The woman nodded quickly, voice trembling. "It just died on me, engine's completely gone. I tried calling for help, but there's no signal out here." Her accent was Welsh, local. Her eyes, pale blue, and wide with what looked like genuine fear. "Where you heading?" Bet was echoed. "My sister's waiting there. Could you maybe drop me at the next petrol station?" Owen hesitated, glancing down the empty stretch of road. The rain pounded harder, rattling the roof like knuckles on a coffin lid. "All right. Hop in. But just to the next stop." She exhaled in relief, clutching her hood tighter as she moved around to the passenger side. The door creaked open, releasing a gust of cold air and the scent of something sharp, a faint mix of gasoline and iron. Owen frowned as she climbed in. Her hands shook slightly, her nails rimmed with dirt. "Name's Owen," he said, forcing casual tone. "Sarah," she replied, giving a quick, tired smile. "Thanks for stopping. I didn't think anyone would." "No one should be out on this road tonight," he muttered, shifting into gear. Storm swallowing the whole bloody valley. They drove in silence for a while, the rain hammering like stones on metal. Sarah sat stiffly, eyes fixed on the windshield. Her reflection flickered in the window, ghost-like, distorted by the streaks of water. "You all right?" he asked finally. She nodded but didn't meet his eyes. "Just cold. And tired. Been out there almost an hour." Something in her tone made him glance sideways. There was no mud on her coat, despite the downpour. Her boots, though scuffed, were dry. Owen's stomach tightened. He slowed the car slightly, pretending to adjust the defogger. "Where's your phone?" "In my bag," she said quickly. Too quickly. Battery died. He glanced in the rearview mirror. Nothing but the smear of headlights reflected in the rain. Still, the unease crawled under his skin like frost. And then, light. A burst of white from behind, blinding, flooding the Land Rover's cabin. A truck's high beams cut through the fog, gaining fast. "What the hell?" Owen muttered, squinting into the mirror. Sarah turned sharply, eyes wide but not surprised. The truck grew larger, its engine roaring. A black lorry, unmarked, massive, bearing down on them. "Do you know them?" Owen barked. Sarah didn't answer. She was smiling. A small, unsettling smile. Before he could speak again, she reached into her raincoat and something flashed silver in her hand. Cold steel pressed against his throat, a knife. "Keep driving," she whispered. The tremor in her voice was gone. "And don't stop." Owen's pulse exploded in his ears. The headlights behind flared brighter. The truck's horn blasted once, long and guttural. He tightened his grip on the wheel. "Who the hell are you?" "Just drive." He slammed the accelerator, the Land Rover fishtailing as it surged forward. The truck followed instantly, tires hissing on wet asphalt. The rain became a wall of noise. The first gunshot tore through the storm, a single deafening crack. Sarah didn't flinch. "Keep going," she hissed. "If you stop, he'll shoot the tires." "You don't want that." Owen's training kicked in. Ex-military instincts: focus, breathe, calculate. He jerked the wheel, swerving around a fallen branch. Another shot shattered the rear glass, spraying shards into the back seat. "Who is he?" Owen shouted. "Why's he?" "Shut up and drive." Her knife pressed harder. Through the rearview mirror, when caught a glimpse, the truck driver's face obscured by a Guy Fawkes mask. The mask gleamed white in the rainlight, smiling through the chaos. He felt a surge of cold adrenaline. The Land Rover's tires screamed as he veered onto a narrow side road leading into the forested slope. Mud splashed against the windows, the headlights flickering as the terrain roughened. "Stop!" Sarah shouted, losing her balance. Owen slammed the brakes, grabbing her wrist and twisting hard. The knife clattered to the floor. He shoved her shoulder, and she fell against the dashboard. The Land Rover skidded sideways, slamming into a tree. Smoke hissed from the hood. Outside, the low rumble of the truck engine idled somewhere on the main road. Then silence. Sarah groaned, clutching her side. Owen kicked open the door, stumbling into the rain. He snatched the fallen knife, his breath steaming in the cold air. Every drop of rain burned against his skin. "Stay where you are," he warned, backing away. She didn't listen. She smiled again, that same wrong, eerie smile. "He's not done with you," she said softly. Lightning flashed across the mountain ridge, illuminating the black truck parked on the main road above. The driver's silhouette stood beside it, watching. Owen turned and ran. Branches clawed at his coat as he sprinted into the forest, the storm roaring behind him. He didn't look back, not when the truck's engine roared again, not when another shot cracked the night, and not when Sarah's laughter echoed faintly through the trees. Part 2. Owen didn't stop running until the sound of the truck engine had dissolved into the storm. The forest pressed around him, slick pine trunks and mud that sucked at his boots. Each breath came ragged, torn between cold and panic. The beam of his phone flashlight bounced wildly through the trees, cutting across mist and rain. He had no idea where he was. He'd driven that road dozens of times, but in the darkness of Snowdonia's heart, even the familiar turned strange. Every tree looked the same. Every gust of wind whispered turn back. Somewhere behind him, thunder rolled. He crouched behind a moss-covered boulder, forcing himself to breathe, to think. The knife, her knife, was still in his hand, slick with rain. His palm stung where the handle had bitten in. He replayed every moment in his head. The woman in the yellow raincoat. The smell of gasoline. The black truck. The mask. A cold shiver ran through him. "He's not done with you." He turned off the flashlight, crouching lower. The forest was alive with sounds, dripping water, wind through branches, the faint groan of metal somewhere far off. Then, a new sound. An engine. Slow. Approaching. He froze. The rumble grew louder, then stopped. Headlights flickered through the trees, not from the main road, but deeper inside the forest, where no road should be. He ducked lower, heart pounding. A vehicle door opened. A beam of light swept the woods, a flashlight, sharp and searching. A voice followed, faint but distinct, carried on the wind. "Sarah?" Owen's stomach dropped. The voice wasn't angry. It was calm. Controlled. Male. He dared a glance, and saw the outline of the driver standing by the truck, rain dripping off the hood of his jacket. The Guy Fawkes mask gleamed faintly under the flashlight beam. "Sarah," he called again, patient, almost gentle. "Did you get him?" Owen pressed himself flat to the mud, barely breathing. The man took a few steps forward, scanning the trees. The flashlight beam passed within inches of Owen's boots. He could see the gun holstered under the man's coat, the slow rhythm of his movements. Then, the sound of static. The man raised a walkie-talkie. "She lost him," a voice crackled. "The car's dead." "Want me to torch it?" "No," said the driver. "Not yet." "Bring the van." The flashlight swung back toward the truck. The engine started again, fading into the storm. Owen waited until the sound was gone, really gone, before moving. He rose slowly, legs trembling, and began to work his way downhill through the forest. The slope was steep, the mud slick as oil. Twice he slipped and fell, clawing at roots to steady himself. Somewhere below, the faint glow of headlights shimmered between the trees. He followed it. The rain softened as he reached a clearing, and froze. There it was. The Ford Focus. It sat at the base of the hill, exactly as before, its hazard lights still blinking weakly through the downpour. The passenger door hung open. The trunk, the boot, was shut tight, padlocked. But now the driver's side window was smashed. Cautiously, Owen approached. The smell hit first, thick, metallic, unmistakable. Blood. He reached for the trunk. The lock was old, rusted. Someone had forced it once before. He found a metal rod in the mud, part of the bumper, maybe, and pried it under the latch. With a groan of metal, the lock snapped. He lifted the trunk. Inside lay a man. Late 30s, maybe. Pale skin turned gray in the rainlight. His throat had been cut wide, clothes soaked dark. His eyes were still open, staring up at nothing. The real driver. Owen stumbled back, nearly losing his footing. Jesus Christ. He covered his mouth, shaking. Then he saw it, scrawled on the inside of the windshield, written in thick, dripping strokes of red. "Your turn, Owen." His breath caught. The letters ran down the glass like tears. He turned, instinct screaming that someone was behind him. Nothing. Only the forest breathing. He looked back at the body. Something glinted near the man's hand, a photograph. A Polaroid. Owen picked it up, hands trembling. The image was grainy, washed out by flash, but there was no mistaking it. It was him. Asleep. In his own car. The photo had been taken from the back seat. He dropped it, heart hammering. He scanned the trees, expecting to see the white mask peering through the darkness. But there was nothing. He had to move. He slammed the trunk shut, stumbled toward the road. His boots squelched in mud, his lungs burning. He could see the faint ribbon of asphalt through the mist, the orange glow of a distant streetlight. Then, a sound that made every muscle in his body seize. A high, metallic whine. He turned. Through the fog, a figure stood by the Ford, Sarah, holding something in both hands. A chainsaw. Its teeth screamed as it came to life. Owen bolted. Branches whipped his face, tearing at his jacket. The sound of the saw chased him through the trees, closer, closer. He burst onto the road, slipping on the slick tarmac, and sprinted north toward the faint light. Behind him, the saw's roar cut through the storm. Then, a loud crack. Gunfire. He dove behind the guardrail, heart hammering. The black truck appeared through the fog like a nightmare made of steel, headlights slicing through rain. The driver stood beside it again, unhurried, gun raised. Owen crawled down the embankment, mud pouring into his boots. The chain-link fence at the bottom tore his sleeve as he squeezed through. Ahead, the faint red glow of a building sign flickered through the storm. Fire and rescue service, 1 mile. He stumbled forward, half running, half falling. Every sound in the rain felt like footsteps behind him. Every flash of lightning became a white mask. By the time he reached the fire station, his lungs were raw. He slammed on the door until lights flickered inside. 2 firefighters opened it, startled. "Help me," he gasped. They're killing people." Up the road. "There's a woman. A truck. A body." They pulled him in, locking the door. One of them reached for the radio. It took the police 30 minutes to arrive. By then, the rain had washed most of the blood away. The Ford Focus was gone. The truck was gone. Only deep tire ruts remained, leading off into the forest. When the officers searched the area at dawn, they found a clearing, hidden behind a ridge. Inside, half buried under tarps and mud, were 3 vehicles. Each stolen. Each spattered with dried blood. Coolers filled with ice. Plastic bags sealed with medical tape. Inside, human organs. And taped to one of the dashboards, written in a smear of brownish red. "We are not done, Owen." Part 3. 6 months had passed since that night on the A470, yet the sound of rain still made Owen flinch. He'd moved to Cardiff, sold the old Land Rover, and rented a flat overlooking the docks. It should have felt safe, bright lights, constant noise, people everywhere. But safety was a lie. Even here, the rain still found him, drumming on the windows at 3 a.m. like a memory that refused to die. The police had closed the case in December. No further leads, they'd said. The photos, the bodies, the dark web stream, all real. But the people behind it? Ghosts. Interpol found traces of the same network in Manchester, Aberdeen, even Rotterdam. Always the same signature, a woman, a decoy car, a clean extraction. And somewhere in the videos leaked online, blurred by fog and distance, you could sometimes see it, a faint grin painted across a Guy Fawkes mask. Owen tried to move on. He joined a therapy group for trauma survivors. He kept the curtains drawn. He installed 4 cameras in the flat, motion detectors by the door, and a floodlight over his small parking space. For a while, it worked. He worked remotely. Slept better. Even went a week without checking the news. Then the package arrived. No return address. Just his name, handwritten in neat black ink. Inside, a small cardboard box lined with plastic. And a single Polaroid. Owen froze. The photo showed him, asleep in his bed, mouth half open, light from the street spilling across his face. Taken from inside his apartment. There was something scrawled on the back, written in red marker. "See you soon, Owen." He called the police immediately. They came, dusted for prints, checked the locks. Nothing. No forced entry. No signs of tampering. The detective in charge, a young woman named Sergeant Milner, suggested it could be a cruel prank, someone who read about his case. But Owen knew better. That handwriting. That tone. It was him. That night, he didn't sleep. He sat in the kitchen with a mug of cold coffee, eyes fixed on the apartment door. The floodlight outside flickered once, twice, then went out completely. He held his breath. Nothing. Minutes crawled into hours. The storm outside thickened, thunder shaking the window panes. He checked the cameras again and again, but each feed showed only rain. At 3:12 a.m., a motion alert buzzed on his phone. Camera 2, parking lot. He tapped the feed. The image was grainy, distorted by the storm. But in the far corner of the lot, under the broken light, stood a figure. A woman. Yellow raincoat. Motionless. Owen's chest went cold. He zoomed in, but the image warped, static lines crawling across the frame. Then, for a single second, the picture cleared. The figure raised her head. And smiled. Then the feed went black. He didn't remember leaving the apartment, but somehow he was in the stairwell, barefoot, heart hammering. He grabbed a wrench from the maintenance cabinet and pushed through the lobby door into the rain. The lot was empty. Only puddles reflecting the sodium light, and the hum of the city beyond. He turned in a slow circle, searching every shadow. Nothing. But when he looked back toward his building, his stomach turned. There was a smear of red on his door. A line drawn by hand. Your turn. By morning, the police were back. Milner stood by the car park barrier, shaking her head. No prints again. No CCTV footage outside the complex. Whoever this is, they're clever. Owen stared at the words, now fading in the daylight. He could smell the faint tang of iron even through the rain. I told you, he said quietly. It's the same people. Milner hesitated. Owen, those men are dead. The woman too. Their van exploded near Conwy 3 months ago. It's in the file. He met her eyes. Then who took the photo? She didn't answer. Days passed. Owen tried to pretend the city was normal again. He forced himself to go outside, to the shop, to the pier. But he felt it everywhere, the static hum before lightning, the sense of being watched. He noticed small things out of place. The doormat turned the wrong way. The fridge door opened a crack. The faint scent of cigarette smoke in the hall, though he didn't smoke. One night, as he checked his email, a new message appeared from an unknown sender. Subject, watch the feed. Attachment, video.mp4. He hesitated, then opened it. The video showed a fixed security camera view, his own apartment living room, filmed from the corner near the ceiling. The timestamp was 2 hours earlier. He watched himself enter, pour coffee, sit at the table. The picture glitched. Then another figure appeared behind him. The driver. Mask. Black coat. Standing less than 2 meters behind him. Watching. Owen's hands went numb. He scrubbed through the footage, the figure never moved, just stood there, until the frame went black. He called Milner again. She promised to send a tech unit in the morning. But Owen didn't wait. He packed a bag, grabbed his passport, and left. By midnight, he was driving south along the M4, heading for Bristol. Rain hammered the windshield, wipers squealing against the glass. Every pair of headlights behind him made his pulse jump. He stopped once at a rest area near Newport, engine idling. The car park was empty except for a single lorry, its engine running, exhaust steaming in the cold. He turned off the headlights, watching. The driver's door opened. A man stepped out, tall, wearing a black coat. The mask caught the glow of the lights. Owen's foot hit the accelerator. The tires screamed. He shot out of the rest area, heart pounding. In the rearview mirror, he saw the lorry turn, following. He drove for nearly an hour before he dared to stop again. When he finally reached Bristol, he parked under a floodlight and stayed in the car until dawn. No one followed. At least, not that he saw. Weeks passed. No more photos. No more messages. The police found nothing. The detective called it a trauma loop, his brain replaying fear until it felt real again. He almost believed her. Until the phone rang. Private number. He answered. Static. Then a low, distorted voice. We never stopped, Owen. The line went dead. He stared at the screen, trembling. Moments later, his phone buzzed again, this time, a photo message. He opened it. The image was dark, blurry, but recognizable. His new car, parked outside his building. Taken from across the street. And in the reflection of the driver's mirror, just visible through rain. A Guy Fawkes mask. That night, Owen left the city for good. He drove north, past Brecon, past the dark hills of Snowdonia, until the mist swallowed everything again. When dawn broke, he was parked on the shoulder of a familiar road. The sign ahead read, A470, caution, slippery in wet conditions. He turned off the engine. Rain began to fall. He looked into the mirror, and for a moment, just a flicker, saw movement in the back seat. A gloved hand. A whisper. Your turn.